Hey folks, can someone make sure that just give me a heads up that you are seeing and hearing me? We had a little snag on track 2 a little while ago, so hopefully one of you can let me know that we're here. We're waiting on Jesse to show up. Let's bring Jess. Hey, there you are, buddy.
Ask and you shall receive. What's up, everybody?
Perfect timing as always. Um, are we sure? Oh, thank you, Essence. All right. There's a little lag between us and the community. Perfect. So we're not making the mistake we made on track 2. I'm sure Christine didn't make that mistake on track 1 because she's the expert. Um, so everyone, thanks for joining us over here back in general. This is really like I wanted Jesse to show up and just show us some cool stuff, man. I don't even know what you got up your sleeves, but in the next half hour, I think you're going to show us a bunch of cool things.
Definitely am. APISec's been working on a lot of cool stuff over the last year. Many of you have seen it. I'm going to be doing a product demo as well as showing off the various bolts that we've developed and the MCP discovery tool. So if you want to see those things in action, hang around for the next half hour. We're calling this a sort of intermission, right? You may have already seen this if you're deep in APISec territory on your daily life. So it's a good time to go grab a snack or something. If you already know how Bolt works and how all the other things we're making work, a good time. The only other thing I'll be talking about a little bit is the course I'm developing. I'll start off just talking a little bit about that, asking for feedback from you guys, and then going into the demos because they're directly related to the course.
Sounds like a jam-packed 30 minutes.
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun. We're going to blow through a whole bunch of stuff.
And folks, like, we love your feedback, right? Like, we don't build these tools just for fun. It is kind of fun, but we want it to be helpful, useful to you all, right? And to help you achieve things and learn and be more effective. So give us your feedback, try the tools out, send us your what you love, what you don't love, what would make it even better. We feed off that big time. And you've probably seen, like, Bolt, we launched it like what, 3 months ago, and we keep iterating on it fast, right? Adding new features, taking away feature if it didn't work right, or was confusing things. So we have a lot of fun behind the scenes here, building these things out and coming up with ideas and throwing them on in. So with that, Jesse, let's fire it up.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about API security for just a second here, since this is APISECCON.
You want to bring your screen to the screen?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, thanks.
Is this the right screen?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. So API security, right? One thing that I've realized this last year, hi everyone, by the way, I'm Jesse. If you don't know me, I'm a product implementation engineer for APISec. And what that means is I spend time during the week with enterprise organizations, as well as smaller organizations too, but mostly enterprise these days, helping them get the product you're seeing on screen, APISec, which is an automated API testing platform, connected to their environments, right? Which can be challenging. We're dealing with all sorts of different CI/CDs and various other frameworks that are kind of, all mishmashed together, some of them ancient, some of them brand new, and trying to get quality tests out, right? The reason that we are different from most API security testing tools or security testing tools in general is we are simulating real attacks, right? We're not doing unit testing from inside your environment. We're not doing validation testing against your OAS. We're not making sure that your code is clean. Those are all valuable practices. But what we're doing is actually trying to manipulate your application from the outside, right? Doing things like beyond just enforcing spec validation, doing things like testing your business logic, understanding how various endpoints are connected to each other, testing broken object level authorization and role access control, right? But in order to start doing that, you have to figure out where your APIs live, right? That's step one. And for a lot of orgs, that's really challenging. We've made some other tools that I'm going to be showing today as well that can help with these problems, right? The first one I want to show you guys is WebBolt. WebBolt is a browser extension that we've developed. It exists in Chrome and Mozilla Firefox currently. You can go to either of their extension stores, the Chrome Web Store, the Mozilla add-ons store, and just search APISec Bolt. You'll be able to find it and get access to it. And what it's doing is effectively acting like a kind of like Burp does when it's proxying traffic. But instead of having to set up a proxy and all of that, we're just getting that information straight from your browser out of the network tools, right? Just like if you were to be inspecting here and you click this little network button and we start clicking around, we'll see calls popping up, right? And a whole bunch of garbage because crappy is a hacker's wasteland. But just digging through that or getting the proxy with Burp set up, all of that can be time consuming. And for people who are new to API security and are just trying to sort of understand and play around, it can be overwhelming, right? Bolt helps with that. So we're going to go ahead and click the Start Capture button. Actually, let me restart there because there's two ways we can do this, right? We can either enter a base URL, which is only going to filter out traffic attached to APISec AI. If there's Google ads or other various little third-party API calls going off, those are all going to be filtered out. We're only going to be seeing things connected to the base URL. If you're searching an application that has microservices and things that live on different URLs, you would want to not only capture the base URL so you can see all of that. All right, so we'll click Start Capture, we'll start clicking around, and right away you can see these things popping up. Right, you can see the endpoints. We're not seeing all the junk that you were seeing in the networks tools because Bolt is intelligent enough to realize that that's not traffic that we need to care about, right? So great. We can now see the API traffic. We can click on any of these to see response headers, response body, all the request information. We have a parameter view that'll show us all of the different parameters being used across these endpoints, as well as where they're being used, body, query, header, etc. We have the Swagger view, which effectively breaks down everything that you've searched so far into a spec that's viewable, like you would see it on Swagger Hub or something like that, like an actual OAS, pretty view. But that's not the coolest thing that we do anymore. With our recent release, we also added Manipulator, this little hacker hoodie icon, which was Dan's idea, which I absolutely am enthralled with. We'll take you to the Manipulator.
It's a little hard to see the black back. I don't know if it's just me. I know you love black back, the dark back.
How about this?
I think that's maybe a little easier to see. Yeah.
Sure.
It'll hurt your eyes for the next
few minutes. Oh, it doesn't work on extensions. I can't do the cool max zoom on my extension. Oh, well.
Oh.
I can do it over here, but anyway. So yeah, we've also got the flags here, right? When I'm hunting, I like, when I'm doing recon especially, I like being able to mark stuff that's interesting to me. So when I see something like this endpoint here, mechanic report that's passing at ID, I might be like, oh, BOLA opportunity. I'm going to mark that orange. And then I know all my orange flags are BOLA, right? And then later I can come into the manipulator. We see the response here for 84. Let's try changing it to 1. Oh, look, we get a different response back, right? Like we're actually unveiling a BOLA vulnerability in this application in real time right here in the browser. No, you need to click away, none of that stuff, right? Let me check chat here, make sure I'm not missing anything. Understood, but I want to ignore 55 base URLs while specifically capturing 3 I care about. We've heard that use case, James. We're working on that. So yeah, yeah, we're like Dan just said, we've heard that a couple of times. We are at APISec very responsive to the product user, right? If our product users we hear people saying we need this, we want that, it'll just make its way into the product in no time. So keep giving us that feedback. It's the best way to help us advance.
Mohammed says, can you do that again? I'm not sure what again was, but
yeah, if you want to do manipulator. So we've got this mechanic report here, right? We looked for report ID number 84 when I viewed my service history earlier. I click this little hacker icon button, which will take me to the manipulator tool, and it gives me that request. These are the params and headers that were included in the request, right? We can see the response body that we got from the original request here. This is the report ID. So I'm just going to change that report ID to 1, click the send button here. And boom, it's going to send that request and give us the new response for ID number 1. We can also copy this as a curl command if we need to, right? If you're doing that sort of testing, you can view this as its own response body, right? If it's like really big or you just want to copy the response body quickly for some reason. Let's go back here. Okay. So yeah, manipulator is really great. We've got filtering here available for you. You can even filter down to just your flagged endpoints, right? All sorts of.
Can we change the? Sorry to interrupt you, man. Go. Can we change the HTTP method and send?
Change the HTTP. Ooh, I don't know actually. I haven't tried that, but
That's not like if we can't, we need to add that.
That's a feature we can add. Oh, you can. Yeah, right here.
I didn't even know we could. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't see the drop down, but we see that when you change.
Oh yeah, so yeah, it's just because of the screen share. But there is a drop. When I click this, it does pop down and say post, put, patch, delete, and it's giving me the options. So yes,
Cool.
it's basically like a Postman tool. It's a lot like that. I didn't either, actually. That's cool. Here you can see me actually change it, so you can see on your screen. Yes, it's a lot like Postman, right? It's designed to be a little bit more lightweight. You know, there's like using Postman, using Burp requires proxy setups or some, you know, like you need this curl command to drop into Postman to start utilizing Postman. And sure, you could like look at network tools and then come down here and cycle through and right click the thing and copy as curl. But like, doesn't this feel cleaner? And then you can actually just initiate the request at the same time, right? No need. So again, it's not gonna Postman for dummies. That's so funny. I mean, kind of, yeah, right? Like it can be, but it's also, for me, the way I use it is like, I'm just being lazy and I don't want to fire up Burp right now. Or actually, that's one. But the other big thing is getting this OAS, right? If you've ever tried to browse a web app and take that HTTP data and turn it into an OAS, there aren't as many tools that are good at it as you would think. That's the sort of thing that for me, when I first tried to do this, I was like, there's got to be 100 things that can do that. There's really not. Ours is one of the best ones right now. It's not the only one, but it is one of the best, and it does make it super convenient because you can do it at the same time as the capture. Okay, running out of time though. I only got 20 minutes left, and I have 3 more things that I want to show.
Damn. All right.
So that's WebBolt, right? We have. I'll show CodeBolt here in a little bit.
And folks, if you want to get WebBolt, that little ticker across the top, that'll take you to the Chrome store. If you want to get it from Firefox, just Google it. You'll find it on Firefox add-ons as well.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's talk about MCP discovery next. We talked about this a little bit earlier, right? MCP is doing who knows what at most organizations, and that's the exact problem that we're trying to solve. Let's figure out who's using MCPs, how they're using them, and whether they're safe to use. So we've made that super simple. Right now, and this is open source, by the way. I can drop that. Oh, this is the wrong link. I'm gonna have to find that link. We'll get it to you guys. I'll post it at some point. I should have had it ready. But this is open source. Right now, you know, we're only supporting GitHub and local system on it natively. I've already seen an open source user get a, I think it was either GitLab or GitHub Actions pipeline potentially working with this. So not hard to connect if you're, you know, a developer who's interested in using this sort of thing. Go grab the open source repo and make it do whatever you need it to do. Let's see it in action. I have a repo that I'm going to be testing against. Already configured. Let me grab the token here. Oh, that's not the right one. This one. Right, and all I need is a GitHub personal access token. This one that I'm putting in here is fine-grained to only view public repos, right? So it's going to effectively, using the API, it's going to access the information and return all of this stuff back to me. So we're not storing any data. We're not actually, you know, going through your repo. Everything is happening between the browser and GitHub itself, right? Nothing being sent back to APISec. So let's go ahead and get connected here. Great, it connected us. I can select my repo now, and we'll go ahead and kick a scan off. And you can see it's already finding stuff, right? It's looking for .mcp files, path MCP files, MCP server JSON files, package files. There's you know, a million different things that indicate that maybe an MCP is in use. And then you get something like this, right? You're seeing how many MCPs were found, the number of repositories scanned, how many of them are known versus unknown, where there's risk involved, right? Risk being things like database access, shell access, file system access. Those are all things that you want to know if your developers are handing that access to an agent effectively, right? Because then the agent's going to do hopefully what they're told, but not, as anybody who's used AI can tell you, that agents aren't always great at only doing what they're told. So a nice little way to keep a lid on that sort of thing. And how's that for a 3-minute demo? Any questions on MCP before I move on?
I'm just kind of curious, right, folks? Because we hear this a lot. We do a lot of MCP workshops, right? Orgs that, you know, and by the way, throw out the invite if you or your team could benefit from learning more about API security or MCP security. We have workshops for that. But the number one question we get, especially security teams, is what MCPs are we already using? How would we even know, right? And that's that's what we're trying to solve here. And I don't know if you mentioned, Jesse, this is open source. Like you can go take this code and build your own fork and contribute and all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And who knows what it's going to do in the future, right? Like with it being open source, time will only tell. Right now, though, great way for you to see what your orgs are doing MCP wise. Okay, the last thing that I want to show off, or second to last thing rather, is code discovery. So this is new from APIsec. I can drop this link here.
I haven't even seen it. So this is so cool.
This is really awesome, right? This is something that we've developed that will, provided you're using the frameworks we currently support, and frameworks we currently support, Spring Boot, Micronaut, Fast API, etc. You can see them listed there on the screen. We're actually able to run through code repositories and generate open API specifications from them, discover endpoints that you may not know exist, put them into an OAS, and then onboard them into APIsec for testing, right? And we're taking as much information as we can to generate those tests in the process in terms of parameters, whether or not it's an unauthenticated endpoint, all of that good stuff. Okay, so let me show what it looks like in action here. And I'm actually, give me 1 second, because I think I'm actually going to have to reshare, because I'm going to need to do my whole screen.
Yeah, no worries.
Perfect. Okay. Oop, nobody saw that. Okay. Actually, that token might not be good. I might have to refresh it, but we'll find out in just a second. Okay. So right now it's a CLI tool. Oh, right.
Bring back to the screen. Hold on.
Oh yeah. Oh, perfect. Actually, nobody saw my token because I hadn't brought it up yet. That's great. Okay. So what we have here is a repository that currently just has crappy in it, right, for testing purposes. I've already set up everything. I ran through this, set up my, pip installed the required things, got my Ven sourced and activated, and now I'm just going to go ahead and use the tool, right? And it's as simple as issuing a command like this, right? It's going to look in this current repo path that we're in and do its thing. Let me make sure that I might have to grab a new token, but we'll find out. Nope, here we go. API discovery completed successfully. And actually, I don't know that it actually did. Hold on. Nope, 401. Yeah, hold on. Let me. I'm going to bring this down for just a sec. Somebody sing elevator music for me while I grab a fresh token here.
You don't want to hear my voice, dude.
Okay. I had a feeling this was going to happen. I wasn't sure if my token would expire.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll fill in. So Rob, thanks for sharing your LinkedIn post on reviewing MCP Audit. That's super cool. We love when people do that. I'm curious if anyone here has played around with MCP Audit in your environment. Did it find anything for you? Are there things that would make it even more valuable, more helpful to you? And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Jess.
Nice, thanks. Does that mean Silicon Valley? It might have been, dude. I'm an AI, remember? We talked about that earlier. Okay, let's try this again.
I've met you in person. I know.
That's true. I guess there are pictures of us together now, but that could be AI generated.
Unless we're both.
Why am I still getting...
So folks, this is like so hot off the press. Like what Jesse is showing us, I have never seen, right? Like I know that the team have been working on building a code bolt, right? So bolt is kind of our naming for discovery tools or tools in general to help you like get visibility, be able to, test and manipulate and onboard APIs from different sources. So this is our code bolt. So it will discover APIs from repos, right? Steve, maybe you're the deep fake. I don't know.
Trying to figure out why I'm getting a form.
I know you're real, Steve.
Okay.
Well, now you all know that this is not like some pre-recorded, like Hollywood stuff, right? Like doing live.
I'm gonna spend the bulk of the time on the last one. I don't have to bore everyone to tears with this. I think the issue is that I ran this earlier and I need to change a config setting, so it's trying to create an app that's already been created. But if we just expand this and dive in, you can still see what it's doing, right? Like it found 33 endpoints. Okay, it saved the open API specification, which is great. And then it just failed at actually creating the app inside APIsec because of some configuration thing that I need to check. I was hoping that I could show you guys the cool thing where my application count went up by 1 and all that good stuff. I had that working earlier, but Just not
We
worth
do have the
mentioning.
wrap-up session if you want to like see if you get
Oh
it.
yeah, I'll see if I can get it
Worked
fixed by
exactly.
then, and I can show it
That gives
again.
that gives us a reason to all stick around, right? So,
Right, because it is really cool running it and then seeing this turn from 73 to 74 after running a command in my CLI somewhere else
oh, that's
is pretty
cool.
slick. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll do all of that stuff.
so let's see if we can do it later. But there's a good question from Dimitri. Jesse, I got a question. What frameworks and programming languages is this last tool code bolt for, or is it language agnostic?
It is for the main ones you see right here. We're primarily Python and Java oriented right now, but we're expanding more and more. And if your organ is like, we're basically choosing frameworks as people ask for them based on priority, right? So like if one of our customers has a framework they need supported, that's what we're working on next. And then we're kind of targeting whatever noise we're hearing from the market on who's interested in what. So if what you're needing is not supported, put in a ticket, like a support ticket, supported APIsec AI, and give us that feedback, and that shapes our roadmap.
And if folks see Gavin's from Team APISec here, new member in the last few months. So
Yeah.
thank you, Gavin, for stepping up and helping answer some questions.
If you email support@apsec.ai, Gavin's going to be the person you're talking to. He heads our support desk. He's excellent at it. He's also a product engineer on our team with me, running customer accounts, so super knowledgeable on the API landscape, and a rock solid developer that helps us build all sorts of tools we use to solve customers' unique problems. So yeah, shout outs to Gavin. Those customers, segue, are using this product, the APIsec scanning platform, right? What you're seeing here is the ability to generate, execute, and what's the word I'm looking for? Communicate the findings to teams automatically, right? Everything that you've been hearing today about AI and AI's ability to do things, it's all true, right? Like, is bug bounty going to die? Maybe, right? I've been kind of saying that I think it was for about a year now. I don't know if it's going to die completely, but it's definitely going to change, right? And we can see that already. Like, you can see HackerOne releasing their own AI bot. Like, what data do you think that bot is being trained off of? Probably all of the bug reports that they're getting would be my guess, right? So how are organizations going to shift the way that they're handling security in a landscape where their bug bounty program is potentially now useless / going away because they can't keep up with the number of garbage reports they're getting from the hundreds of thousands of people with Claude at their fingertips calling themselves a bug bounty hunter? Well, I think the right answer is to automate testing using test cases that are crafted by experts, right? That are centered around things like OWASP top 10 and specifically built for APIs in general. I think the other thing is you have to attack your API security layer now as its own, it deserves its own budget effectively, right? Is what I've been telling organizations. You know, we talk about AppSec, we talk about network security. There's all these different areas of these layers of security that you kind of have to target. And I think what I've found is that not enough organizations are taking the API layer seriously. We heard this from Darren earlier today, right? Like, your API layer needs to be priority number one, because that is where the majority of your threat actors are targeting you, right? It's easiest to discover business logic there. It's easiest to uncover data about not only the users using your application, but the tech stack that your application is built upon. All of that sort of information is coming out of your API. So how do we use API testing, right? Like, how do we use automated testing in a way that's actually effective? And what does that mean? Does that mean I have to have this all of my APIs documented and all of my parameters configured and understand how auth works for all of them? I mean, as a future state, that's an outstanding goal. I would love for all organizations to aim for that, but you don't have to start there. I like to tell organizations, don't boil the ocean, right? Identify the rivers that your users, that your threat actors are aiming to swim down, and secure those first, right? So that starts with unauthenticated testing. Super simple, right? You don't have to configure anything to do that. Just send a request to the endpoint in question and figure out whether this authenticated endpoint is giving me a 200 back or not if I don't have auth. And do that all the time, right? Developers are constantly changing applications, whether they're developing new features, editing old ones, adding on new endpoints to an application. There's a million different reasons to change the code. And when you're adding on new features, especially, things like authentication can be super annoying depending on your auth flow to deal with while you're trying to run tests, right? Especially if your auth flow is challenging to automate. So the solution there is taking those rivers, loading them into a platform like APIsec, and I honestly don't know that there are any other platforms that do this how we do it, and automatically generating the tests that will target all of these. I like to call them low-hanging fruit, right? Where are my unauthenticated endpoints at? Where am I missing rate-limiting headers? All of these super simple things that you learn as a beginner in application pen testing or API pen testing specifically have to be done across your entire application, right? Because you have to understand how your application is responding. That's the important thing. You can do unit tests from the inside, but until you see how your application actually responds from the outside, it's difficult to remediate or understand what the actual implication is of payloads being sent. So let's take a look at what an application looks like loaded into APIsec and understand how APIsec is running these tests. The first thing we do is break your spec down. Is this considered DAST? Yes, it is. The first thing that we do is break your spec down, right, and give you an itemized list of all of your endpoints. We're able to infer which parameters are required for these endpoints. We apply logic on whether those parameters are sensitive based on what they do and the type of parameter that it is and the example values that are there, right? We understand any path query or headers that belong in there. We can set up authentication profiles that will actually hit a token or a token endpoint or whatever it may be, return a token, and then use that token in all of our tests. So we're not overloading your auth servers by needing to authenticate for each test that we're doing. And we're effectively simulating what a team of pen testers would be doing while engaging with your application. And this app model over here sort of leads you through, in general, some of the steps they would take while doing that, right? Like first, they're going to look for unauthenticated things. Then they're going to configure authentication and start poking around. Then they're going to start looking for things like role access and BOLA. Like you're moving down, getting deeper and deeper with the application, and you can do that same thing within APIsec. This isn't to say that APIsec is going to replace a pen tester, right? I think Katie talked about this earlier. The human element isn't going anywhere. Because the human element is where the vulnerability originates, the human element is critical for remediation to a point, right? Like there's going to be things that AI bots and automation can uncover for you, but it still takes a human to understand that and validate it and actually go make the change. So how do you use this in an organization? Well, I think it depends on the org. Right? Smaller orgs, this is something that you can log in and start trying for free today. If you're a one-person organization who's developing your own software as a service, you're leveraging APIs, and you don't know the first thing about testing them, go jump in the free version of our product, start running tests on it right now. You can use WebBolt that I showed you earlier if it's a web app to grab your OAS if you don't have one yet. You could use CodeBolt to generate an OAS from your code directly potentially and start getting access to all of these testing categories, which you can see here. We're running a ton of tests, right, based on the data that is included in the request.
Well, and if I can jump in here, like
please.
the nature of these tests, right? And I'm actually gonna, maybe we can do this sort of side by side here, right?
Nice.
I know it's making everything tiny, but to me, this is really what captures the essence of what's special about the way we approach automated testing, right? Like we all are familiar with classic scanners. You point them at your URL and it blasts it with all kinds of different things, but it's not really understanding your app, right? And without that context, how on earth can you really exercise? You can get the low-hanging fruit like Katie was talking about, right? A SQL injection or a cross-site scripting or some basic stuff. But if you don't understand the logic of your app, there's no way you're going to find the complicated stuff, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
If you're on Darren's session, right, your attackers are logging in, right? They don't hack your they don't hack your app. They log in, right? And then they go do all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So excuse me. So the core of what APIsec does is this app model, right? And it's collecting all this context from bolts, right? From documentation, from your gateway, from traffic, from responses and payloads and so forth. And it builds this model, right? And then it has a library of attack scenarios, right? So let me yank this down, right? And if you scroll down, Jesse, like or in the coverage, this is all that like attack, knowledge goodness, right? And if your job is to go pen test on an app or red team or just evaluate, like how on earth are you going to get that kind of coverage, right? You need something like this to blanket and to simulate all these things and then point you in the right directions. It's not eliminating the human from the loop. It's making that human way more effective.
Yeah, exactly. That was the next point I wanted to get to is, especially enterprise orgs that are massive, right? Like they can't only rely on tools like this, right? Like you just can't. I mean, sure, it's probably enough to check a box in terms of compliance, but if you actually want to be secure, you're going to need a human looking at the extremely nuanced and complicated aspects of your application. Now, the thing that happens though with so many security teams is they're caught in this sort of like, I pay this pen testing team exorbitant amounts of money every year, and they come in and they hand me the same thing every year, right? And that's largely because every year when that pen testing team comes in, they've got to run all of these things, all these low-hanging fruit that we're calling, the rate limiting headers, the unauthenticated tests, all of that stuff takes time, right? And that's effectively what you're really paying a pen tester for, is their time. You have 1 week to break as much as you possibly can. So imagine how much more effective that pen tester is going to be if on day one of that week, you hand them a report that says, hey, we already found all of these vulnerabilities. We know that all this PII exists. We know where we're using incremental IDs. We know we have some unauthenticated endpoints, right? We're working on remediating that. That pen tester is going to eat that up and go running with it and find the stuff that no tool could ever find by using the data they're going to learn from in these tests.
Hey, bro, it's 11:30 on my watch here.
Let's
so
get it.
Another
Back to the
30
fun
minutes
stuff.
flown by. So everyone, we're going to shut down the general, go over to T1 or T2. On T1, we got Christian Vega. We're going to be talking about MCPs again. Join me, Jesse, on track 2 if you want to learn about, hear from Ryan Day. This is they're all going to be awesome. So I'll see you over at T2 or join Christine on T1.